Cherish today. Cherish this doubleheader around the WNBA. It is the final day of regular season action in the W before the All-Star break and the festivities this weekend in Phoenix. By the way, Mr. Worldwide, Pitbull going to perform at the WNBA All-Star Game. All-time caption, DRS, that I want you to read his announcement. We'll do it during the break, and we'll get your thoughts on it afterward about how honored he was to perform at All-Star Weekend in Phoenix. But it's the final day of games before the All-Star break and before the Olympic break. So today is Wednesday, July 17th. The next regular season day game of action around the WNBA, it's August 15th following the Olympic break. We start with the nightcap because there's also an early afternoon game in Minnesota, but we start with the nightcap in Dallas. The Wings playing host to the Indiana Fever. Caitlin Clark and the Fever, a 3.5-point favorite. Over under 178 and a hook. What do you anticipate for this Dallas duel?
Yeah, maybe coming off one of the biggest wins of the season there for the Indiana Fever. Maybe they can continue that streak. Now, keep in mind, they opened up as a 4-point favorite overnight at the FanDuel Sportsbook. That has now dropped to 3.5. So one would think that more money or maybe that reverse line movement is coming in here on the Dallas Wings. But you want to take also focus into the equation. Like, I'm not a big WNBA handicapper going back years and years and years and, you know, data testing things. But the one thing we always say is, like, be careful in the final Sunday before the All-Star break and technically with Major League Baseball. One of those games, which was my Philadelphia Phillies at a 2-1 price or higher, got beat by 15 runs by the Oakland Athletics because it looked like they were already on vacation at that point. And I'm not saying this could creep in, but we also saw yesterday a 14-point favorite Aces team at home against a team they should have buried, end up getting beat at home. So those are some things that I wind up saying what might take place. But I expect a big performance out of the Fever, another big performance out of Caitlin Clark. I'll be public here. I'll go against that line movement and still take that 3.5, but I expect a good performance from the Fever before we hit the break.
And you see that total of 178.5. That is lofty by WNBA standards, but we have the two worst scoring defenses in all of the WNBA, including Dallas, who gives up nearly 90 points per game. Now, the Wings have been shorthanded this year, but they started winning 3 of their first 5 games, 3-2. Arike Ogunbowale, one of the leading scorers in all of the WNBA. Some thought that Caitlin Clark got snubbed from the Olympic roster. Others thought it was Ogunbowale. She has been a leading scorer for Dallas in 16 of its 24 games this year. But again, the Wings got off to a 3-2 start. They have won just twice in their last 19 games. They are at the bottom of the table right now in the WNBA standings, just 5-19. Meanwhile, it's the reverse for Indiana. That grueling gauntlet, 11 games in the first 20 days of the season, just a 2-9 record. The lumps and the growing pains for Caitlin Clark and Aaliyah Boston and this young Fever core. Well, since that point, they're 9-5, and they've won 2 straight games against the Mercury and the Lynx, against teams that have a winning record. Indiana should take care of business today on the road, only laying 3.5. But I think Donnie is right to caution what that mentality is before the long All-Star and Olympic break. Caitlin Clark only 6 assists in that game on Sunday against Minnesota. She had 13 dimes in 3 straight prior. 9.5, the assist prop for CC now at -148. Juice to the over. Just about a week and a half ago, DRS, do you remember what her assist prop was that we said, make sure you start to bet the number now, because if you don't, it's going to be on the rise?
What was it? 5.5?
7.5. 7.5. And the over had the juice at -130. It has been on the rise by at least 2 assists per game over the last 10 days. First game of the day, Camp Day in Minneapolis, the Lynx and the Atlanta Dream, starting off our doubleheader today. Minnesota in what was a home environment, but with a ton of Fever fans there on Sunday afternoon, did lose to Indiana. Minnesota now an 8-point favorite today. The over-under 152.5 against an Atlanta team, much like the Dallas Wings, struggling as of late. The Dream have dropped 7 straight.
Yeah, and by the way, you're looking also at a similar betting pattern here. Now, granted, we only saw the Indiana Fever open up overnight as that minus 4-point favorite, now drops to 3.5. We actually had an overnight favorite here for the Lynx at 9.5, and the true live number now at the FanDuel Sportsbook is -8. So maybe people betting that same pattern, like, you know what, day before these guys take a break here, I'm just going to take the points. So you're seeing some market movement there. We'll see how it shows up, but I'm always leery also of a 1 o'clock game, which I guess in Minnesota probably a 12 o'clock game at this point, how early and how that affects some of those biorhythms for the players just not used to playing that early. We'll see if that plays into it. But it looks like if you asked me today, I probably would say to myself, I would like the Fever, but I don't mind people betting the Wings. And then that same sort of instance where, yes, the Lynx should win, but maybe it could be a better option to take the points in that effort here. But again, I don't have enough back testing to say the same thing as the All-Star break in other major sports.
Of course, the Lynx have one of the better records in the WNBA this year. Of course, they have the first championship of the season, knocking off New York in New York to win the Commissioner's Cup. Incredibly bright outlook for the rest of the year. From that point, though, Minnesota has lost 5 of its last 8. A lot of that around the injury to their big, one of the most talented around the WNBA, in Nafisa Collier. She does not have a points prop listed for today. She has missed the last few games for Minnesota. In her absence, though, I would keep an eye on Bridget Carleton. Her points prop just 12.5. I like the over in that spot. Game number 3 of 5 of the exhibition series for Team USA in the run-up to the Paris Olympic Games. They take on Serbia today. That means Nikola Jokic on the other side. After a disappointing, perhaps, performance against the Australians, what can we expect out of the Americans today?
I thought similar because, again, these games don't mean anything, and it's apparent that you're just trying to get minutes for your players to get acclimated with their teammates just to get that run up before the Olympics actually start. So betting-wise, you saw game number 1. Yes, they won by double digits, depending on when you got that line, if you won or lost. There was no question in the last game against Australia where they did run up a 20-plus point lead here and let it crash sort of at the end. So I'm not really into Team USA saying, now we got to get it together all of a sudden in Abu Dhabi against Serbia. It's a 14.5-point favorite. No real handicap, but I probably would take the points with Serbia, to be honest.
Yeah, I would as well. I also lean under. I think it's going to be a gritty, grinded-out game. We'll talk some points props that are available for this exhibition in Abu Dhabi up next, live right here on the Early Line. Just a few more minutes live right here on this Wednesday on the Early Line. I got to head out live here in our Manhattan studio. It's Blues Wire for a second consecutive day. Mike Blewett hosting Newswire, but some final thoughts and a best bet before I go. Donnie will offer one up as well, and then he'll probably have a rendition of Listen Up to close out the show. A lot of action on the basketball court on this Wednesday with not much else to really handicap or preview. So before we say farewell and goodbye, it is time for a best bet on this Wednesday. It's time for bye, bye, bye. All right, DRS, exhibition match number 3 for Team USA today in Abu Dhabi against Nikola Jokic and the Serbians. For Anthony Edwards to score 15-plus points, -113. He has been one of the leading scorers for the Americans in each of their first 2 exhibition matches. But I lean under 178 and a hook. My best bets of this day, one of the 2 games in the final day of action in the WNBA before the All-Star break and the Olympic break. That's Indiana in Dallas. I'm a little bit spooked of just laying 3.5 with the Fever or even going over 178.5 despite expecting some points today on the final day of action before the All-Star break. But I do like the point or the rebounding prop of Aaliyah Boston. 17 points, 16 boards for Boston in the big win in Minnesota over the weekend. When she performs, really Indiana goes as well as Caitlin Clark. So over 9.5 rebounds for Boston, the over plus money.